All right, guys. So I think we're ready to get started here. Anyone who comes in late, should they have questions, we may stop and catch them up a little bit, but I'll try to address those afterwards. For now, we're ready to start getting ready to rock on this one. So thank you guys for coming, and hopefully this explains a little bit of the beginner elements of VentBOM and gets you doing some proposals of your own in real time. So first and foremost, we know what VentBOM is, correct? You've all looked at these. Mike, I know I've done them for you. Terry, has anybody done their own VentBOMs at all yet?
No.
No. Okay, so that's what we're here for today. So first and foremost, okay, you guys can see the Centrotherm website on the screen, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so some of you may have done this already. If you have not, this is where what first step towards VentBOM mastery is register for an account. So under the tool section on the website, we have a system design tool tab. So we click through into the system design tool, and this will bring you to the VentBOM Signup Portal. As you guys already know, VentBOM is a sort of a partner of ours, and through their outside browser-based software, we have the full product line and all the accessories loaded into it, and it will turn these two-dimensional drawings into a full three-dimensional layout with a comprehensive bill of materials and a price for it. So the first thing that you must do is sign up for VentBOM, and you can just click right here, and it will take you over to the registration page. Upon doing that, you're going to have to register for a new account. That prompts an email to me. All of you guys would be familiar to me, so if I saw something that said HBA, I would know to approve it. But we do have pricing there, so we don't just approve everybody. But should I see that it is one of our friendly rep agencies or a customer we work with, then I immediately approve that account. That will trigger an email to you that says your account is ready with a temporary password, and you can get to this screen to set up your finalized account and get ready to start quoting. So I'm going to sign into my account for now. This screen you're looking at is an administration account. It is you will have less boxes. VentBOM will not let you tinker with things like the pricing and various product administration stuff. You should be able to look at the project list, create a new project, and also have access to the training videos. But we're doing the training video type of thing right here, right now. But there are more advanced ones that I will personally cover in future VentBOM trainings. But if you are an eager beaver, you're more than welcome to get right in there and take a look at some of the other tools and stuff that that VentBOM has to offer. Today, of course, will be a beginner training. So just quickly, project list, if you look at this, it'll just show you all of the VentBOMs that you have done. I get to see, all of them, but you will be limited to the ones that you guys create. So it's very helpful to have a list of them to follow up upon. So that's the project list screen. The real nuts and bolts of this is here at the new project thing. So let's say the contractor emails you this. It has the appliance, it's got some dimensions, it's got some other requirements. You're ready to start quoting. So we go to new project at that point. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of different fields here. A lot of them are self-explanatory, but I can't stress accuracy and complete fulfillment of these enough. We have some internal numbering that we do to sort of code stuff and to quickly find stuff, but I implore you guys to come up with your own set of numbers or dates or some system that'll make it very easy for you to reference these numbers. For now, I'm going to call this one we have nothing but West Coast people on here, so to speak, West Coast and how we define them as Centrotherm. So let's go with West Test 1 for today. It'll skip that one over, and then other reference number. I mean, it's all for how you for how you define it. So I'm going to skip that one for now. Project name is Vital. let's call this one Seattle Mechanical Room 1. That's the project name. In the city of Seattle, in the great state of Washington. So just filling these things in. This is not terribly challenging. Let's say we're going to go for Terry at HBA. And, you know, so now all that information, like the recipient, Terry, you're just you're my example for today. That will be, you know, all that stuff is populated on the actual sales order. It would be, when you do it, it'd be better for you to have, you know, Johnny Contractor up there and then the contracting agency, or potentially Wind Supply Seattle or something like that as the customer company.
Right.
But the more accurate you can make it, the better. The further you drive down in the appropriate contact, the easier it is to follow up, and the more precise the data is. So purchase order and sales order number, probably not going to have those when you're doing a quote. They could come later, and I do suggest filling them in. This way you can keep tally of quotes that you've won. And also it's just another way of, you know, sort of organizing the data here. When you sign up, your name will be right there where mine is. So, you know, right now we're in my account. Terry, when you sign in, it'll say Terry there. That's also other information that will be populated to the actual proposal at the very end. 99 times out of 100, we're going to be working on a quote, but there are other options here. For, you know, for today, I'll eventually be clicking sample and demo because that's what we're doing here. But sometimes it's budgetary. A contractor may be wanting to find out the cost of a potential vent system for a school job that's not set to break ground until the following summer. But he's trying to get all of his proposals in, so that could be budget. Shipped and canceled are obviously stuff that comes a lot later on. So, you know, you win one, let's put shipped in there and put the purchase order number in there, and we have a really good accounting of what's going on. But for now, quote is the main one, as that is, like, the majority of them are done with quoting. Reminder date, this is some more internal accounting if you wanted to follow up. And again, these note sections are for as much information as possible that you could put in there. Elevation and design temperature, that kind of stuff is actually for some forthcoming VentBOM updates that will help with capacity sizing and things, but we're not quite there yet, and we're certainly not there on a beginner training. So for now, I'm going to put sample and demo, and as you can see, this goes away because it's just a training that we're doing here today. So now all of the job detail entry stuff is completed. We go right on to the next part, which is the layout. Now, a lot of these buttons are pretty, you know, self-explanatory. You know, new layout, that's what we're going to click eventually. 3D layout, you don't need to do that. They both work the same way. Open copy, if you had a layout that you wanted to duplicate and make some slight changes to, you might want to just copy it there. If you had some layouts that were saved, you could import. If you were going to do something with just a bill of materials and not an actual 3D design, you might start work with new bill of materials or edit bill of materials or delete bill of materials. That all comes a little bit later on. This is even a little bit more specific. And open proposal would be for when it's done. But there's nothing here yet, so we don't have anything we can work with. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to do a new layout. So layout title. Again, the more complete the data is, the easier it is for everyone involved. We called that job the Seattle Mechanical Room 1, so let's call this one Boiler 1, because potentially there could be Boiler 2, Boiler 3, etc. You don't have any option to, let's keep it in standard, not metric, because that's how we operate here in the States. You don't have any options for application rules, so heating, venting, appliance it is, and we're eventually going to go for a 3D schematic drawing, so just leave that as it is. If you see that you're starting to get into a lot of similar systems, you may want to pre-build some templates, but majority of the time we're going to start with a blank layout. So we're going to click blank layout. Now where the real fun begins. We have now opened up what I like to call the grid panel. You should be seeing all of the little square boxes, which is our X and Y, and where we're going to start playing and putting actual pieces. So now we're at the point where we have to refer to what the customer actually wants. So that's when we bring up our PDF again. So taking a quick look at this, we can see there's a front view, there's a plan view, there's the type of appliance, and some other requirements, a termination request, and some additional bill of materials type stuff at the very bottom here. So looking briefly, we have enough information to start going and building this proposal. Oftentimes we will get a design that is missing dimensions, or we have no idea what the appliance is, or any number of things can be missing that makes it hard to get started. But this is a complete one, so we are actually ready to roll here. So first thing that we want to do is take a look at the appliance. We see that it is an Airco Benchmark 750. At this point, we're going to go back to the Centrotherm website and click on one of the most important pieces of the Centrotherm website, which is the Oem Approval Matrix. Here is where we're gonna open this up and take a look and find the appropriate, well, first and foremost, find if we are approved for that appliance, and then secondly, find out information related to the appliance. I would suggest bookmarking this page and not the PDF that downloads at the link, because it updates often. I personally update this on the website, and the last time you can see was updated was, I believe, last Thursday. So if you were to save the PDF, you might have outdated material pretty quick. So bookmark this page and just keep referring to the new PDF. I also put the date in the upper right-hand corner of the latest iteration of the matrix, because it's vitally important to stay up to date on it. So if you have one that says 2017 or even beyond that, then you're going to have some outdated material. So here we're at the current one. So we know Benchmark Airco 750. Come right here. Lo and behold, Centrotherm is approved for use on this boiler, and we have the associated pieces of the puzzle here. This takes on the flue gas exhaust an ISA FLG06. That is an Inaflue single wall accessory, or adapter, I guess, depending on how you do the math, flanged in 6-inch diameter. So Inaflue single wall, adapter or accessory, and then FLG stands for flanged, and 06 equals the diameter. So we know two things now. First and foremost, we know the starting section, and we know the diameter of the run. So we can take a look at this again, and we see that, should there have been a great many of offsets, or, it's a common venting situation, or it's a highly complicated thing, we might need to send this to some engineers to get this sized. But we can see that it's really only 18, 38, it's like 40 feet of vent with a couple of turns. We're going to be able to do this in the 6-inch diameter. So at that juncture, I tend to write on the paper the type of adapter and the diameter, just so I don't have to keep referring back to the website. But again, the matrix is where you're going to find all of this stuff. I mean, the same way if we scroll through and you're installing a PK Mach 2500, then you can then go and find that one takes Centrotherm 10-inch single wall. It's 10 pages long with a lot of different approvals for both boilers, water heaters, and furnaces and stuff. So just continually refer to this matrix to find the details of the quotation that you will be working on. So now we know a few things about this installation, and we're ready to actually start building. So we want to go to the top panel of tools, some of which are very straightforward, some of which will be covered in future trainings. But for now, pan just kind of moves around the system. You can move around when you get bigger things or a lot more moving components. It's helpful to be able to move where you're viewing. Draw means put stuff on the page, and edit means edit the stuff that you've put on the page. Insert is for descriptors and images and text, stuff like that. You won't really use that all too much. I don't think I've ever really used that in this segment of the actual proposal drawing. So the first thing that we want to do is choose the material. And since we know that this is a 6-inch installation, we know that it's Inaflue single wall commercial. That's going to automatically prompt the diameter, which we also now know is 6-inch. Because we're not going to be trading and changing around diameters, we don't really have to adjust this any further. There are instances of changing between single wall and flex, or increasing to 8 inches or 10 inches, but that's for future trainings. For now, we're going to stick with a 6-inch diameter. So again, we go back to the drawing, and we see that there's a couple of turns here, and we have all the diameters, all the dimensions that we need. So our first starting point would be this 10-foot vertical rise. So we go to the draw tool up here, and we're going to put a 10-foot vertical rise. Once you put the first initial pipe on there, it will open up the dimensional portal on the right-hand side. And because we did a y-axis thing, it understands that we need to put a height into the thing. So we know it's 10 feet. Be very careful with your marks. It automatically puts it in inches. But if you put 10 with the 1 hash, that means feet. You know, if you wanted to do math and do 120 inches, you could do that as well. But very, very easy to just put it in the feet with the right hash mark. So again, back to the drawing. Now, it looks like it goes 20 feet to the left. But in the complete plan view, we see that there's actually an 8-foot Z-axis offset going backwards or sort of into the screen from that particular view. So one of the neat tricks about this, or the tools that you need to be familiar with, is the view changer right up here in the corner. You look at this and it says front. We're looking straight on. In order to make that change, we want to change it to plan view. Now we see that there is a little circle there. It's as if we're looking straight down on the vent. And we know that we want to make an 8-foot offset backwards. So we draw and put 8 foot in there. Now you can notice this little chart down here in the bottom left. It shows what direction you're going to be drawing in if you choose. So I did a Z-axis backwards for 8 feet. And we know from the drawing that the next plan now is 20 feet to the left, or 20 feet offset horizontally would be a better way to put it. So we don't actually have to change views for that. We can just go right over here and put in 20 feet. Now, the last piece of this puzzle, and I should remark and say that you don't actually have to put these drawings proportional on the screen, because the real criteria is over here. So, I mean, if I put only one little block and I made it 200 feet, the system would understand that. However, for your visual purposes, it's a lot easier if you keep it relatively proportional to how it actually looks on the drawing, or how it actually will look when the actual length is put out. So, our last thing is there are some directional views that show you a lot more of a 3-dimensional look. If I'm going through top right or top left, you see down here, now there are 3 options. You are now looking at Z, X, and Y at the same time. It's as if we're looking at it from a diagonal. We know that Y is straight up, and from the drawing, we know that we need to go 16 feet onward to termination. So we're going to draw 16 feet vertical here. Put it in. So now we've got 10 feet up, 8 foot in the Z-axis, 20 feet horizontal offset, 16 foot vertical. Everything matches from the initial drawing. So we're ready to move on to the next stage of the game here. So the next stage of the game is checking the fittings and making sure everything makes sense in terms of flow direction and accessories. As we already have remarked, our first point of contact with the appliance is going to be here, and we know that it is an ISA FLG06. So each one of these sticks, each one of these vent lengths has what they call an in point and an out point. We want to hit the pencil to open up the drop-down box, which will provide you with a drop-down menu of adapter accessories. So there's a lot of options, including increasers and other oddball stuff in various diameters, which we will come to use in future trainings. But for today, we just need to find that ISA FLG06, hit OK, and we're good to go. That has now been applied. If you didn't put one, it might give an error warning in the end, but it's better to go from start to finish and just check each section as you go. It's very complete that way. So this one starts with the adapter at the in, and we know that we can use an 87 on the way out. So it's already there for you. You don't have to do much. So onward to the next piece. So this is the same shared in, and it's an 87, so that's correct. Now you can see that the system has interpreted that it wants to put a 90-degree manifold T on there, which would be fine if the customer had requested some accessories like a drain or something like that at the end over here, but that's not how we're doing this one, so we have to change that. And all that's doing is offsetting horizontally, so we just need another standard elbow. So now elbow in, elbow out, and we're on to the next segment. This one now has an elbow in from the previous one. That's fine. This is the base of a vertical run, so the system has applied a base support T, so we don't have to do anything with that one. So we're all set on this third leg of this vent system. So onward to the fourth one, where we know we have some stuff to do. So back to the sheet we go. Contractor has suggested or requested that we terminate with an end pipe and a bird screen. So similar to the initial piece where we added an adapter accessory, we want to add an exit point accessory as well. So again, we click the arrow, the pencil, which brings up the same sort of drop down, but now we're going to have termination options in the drop down, and we just scroll down until we find the one that has been requested by the contractor, and in this case it is an ISEP 0639 end pipe. Click it, hit OK, and now our exit point has been selected. But we're not done yet. He wants a bird screen. So we have to do something that's a little bit different to add a secondary accessory to this segment of the run. And what that is click the accessory panel. So make sure your correct segment that you want to apply the accessory to is selected. And then we click accessory over here, which brings up a different menu of accessories. Same kind of situation though, you scroll right down and find the correct one, and we're going to give this an IASPP06, a polypropylene bird screen, which is significantly cheaper than the stainless steel ones that I don't even know if we have in stock anymore. So anyways, add one bird screen to the end pipe and hit OK. Now we know that it's worked because that segment now has a little green plus sign indicating that this accessory has been added to this segment. So that's pretty much it for the creation of the vent system. This is a pretty straightforward one, so you didn't have to do too much cycling between the different views. But as they get more complex, the different views are really helpful. So familiarize yourself with the usability of the view selector. 3D preview up at the top is very helpful to give you a three-dimensional understanding of to what this vent system will look like. And as you can see, 10 up, 8 back, 20 horizontal, 16 vertical on the way to termination. So that's looking all good as well. Lastly, I want to call attention to this. Yes.
Hey, when we're doing these, especially just starting out, before we send them to the customer, can we send them to you to review?
I would say, yes, we absolutely can do that. That's a great idea. Either I, the regional sales manager, or inside sales could be very helpful doing that. So for absolutely sure, that'd be great.
Okay, good, because that last stuff where you put the base T, I would have done another 90, and I would have liked somebody who had caught that.
So that base support, the system understands that the vertical needs a base support, but I mean, 16 feet isn't a whole lot. Some people will if you know that you're going to support this properly and that this is supported properly. You could potentially use another 90 there instead of a base support. That would be totally acceptable.
Okay, but it would have to have the proper supports all the way up.
You always need the proper supports. Base support offers additional vertical support. So 16 feet isn't a whole lot. This pipe doesn't weigh a whole lot. The system always puts it on there. We always recommend it. If this had been like shorter, 5 feet or something, you absolutely do not need a base support. You can use just a standard 90.
Okay.
You know, so that's a good question, but it is I wouldn't say it's interchangeable, but certainly an elbow will work in certain vertical runs if supported properly.
Okay.
So we did 3D preview, and then I just want to call attention to the settings button over here. There's a couple of options over here, changing the layout name. If you know that you're doing like 3 row houses that have the same installation, you can go over here and just make this typical of 3, and then it will export a bill of materials that will be comprehensive for 3 installations. So for now, we're just going to leave it at 1, but very often you do something where it's like this, I need 2 of these quotes, and then you only need to do the work once, typical of 2. And then these other little selectors will, you know, take the little icons away, show the width, show the diameter, show the length and stuff. You can you know, do some slight graphic tweaks in this section. So for now, that's all that we need. So that's the settings panel over here. So now we've covered putting it on, putting the sticks on the page on the grid, changing accessories, 3D preview, view selector. Now we're pretty much done and ready to start getting into the actual proposal. Unless we have any questions, I will move on. All right. So if we go at the PDF over here, we've got the proper adapter, we've got all of the length, and we've got the termination and the bird screen. So there's one little piece left of this puzzle, which we're about to get to. So we go to process, and it's going to prompt this. The system understands that we need to have a particular level of pitch for the system to actually work. And our engineers have worked with their engineers to make sure that the system understands how much slope to give it. So unless you want to sit there with a calculator and a slide rule, we're going to automatically add the slope. I suggest everybody always adds the slope. Always, always, always add slope. Now we are into the BOM results panel of the VentBOM process, on our way to exporting the actual full bill of materials, right? So you can see there's a couple of things that have been added. The system understands, based on the length, how much lubrication to add to the proposal. It does it automatically. The system understands how many support clamps to add to each segment of the run. It does it automatically. It takes out the vents. It takes into account how long, and then it takes into account how many supports, and it adds them without having to do the math. So that's really nice. And in the residential sizes, it does that for the connector rings as well. So the math is made a lot easier through the VentBOM you know, interface. Now we know from the PDF that the contractor thinks he might be dealing with more offsets than he thinks. He thinks he might have to do some field cutting and add some more elbows into the mix here to achieve this run. So we're not quite ready to go to proposal. We need to edit the bill of materials first. So that opens up this field, which shows you the bill of materials and the pricing. Now, should he have requested an item that's not on the actual bill of materials already, we might have to add a new line, add the quantity of, say, a siphon or something like that, or a special elbow or a custom piece, and we might have to manually add these in. But since he's just asking for more elbows, I'm just going to take this one over here and make the quantity 1, 2, 3. So now we have 3 elbows where 1 was, thus adding to the mix the 2 additional requests that he made. So now we're pretty much satisfied everything. We've got all the lengths, we've got all the accessories, we've got the proper adapter, the proper termination, the requested accessory, and the requested additional componentry. So we're ready to go and save and go to the proposal. So now this is the pre-PDF proposal. All of you guys have seen what this looks like on the other end when it exports. It looks pretty similar to this. It's got a couple of sections. The data that we put in the beginning, where we said, you know, this is prepared for Terry at Hollabaugh. It's the West test number 1. It's boiler number 1 is the layout. It's in the city. All that stuff is from the beginning, and now it's in there. The quote section is this middle one, and there's a couple things I want to point out. if you unclick pricing, now you've got a bill of materials that doesn't have cost. A lot of the times wholesalers do not want their customers to know exactly what's being paid or what everything costs. They just want to show you what you need. So if you click pricing, it goes away. There it is. There it's gone. So that's an important one depending on who the recipient of this proposal is. Next, if you're making this for a wholesaler and you know that you have their buying price, you can change the sell multiplier to be exactly what they sell it for. So let's say 365, you type it in, and then it adjusts the price based on the multiplier that you have applied right in this section. So for now, I'm going to put it back to 1. That puts it at list price. If you want to start messing around with stuff like what freight's going to cost, and you want to add that to the proposal, it just does basic math for you and says, hey, you know, that's going to cost $2,000 to ship. It adds $2,000 to the whole cost. You know, so but for now, very often we leave that blank because we don't know, but we can change that there and make this a little bit more of a detailed proposal. So next section is the quantity stuff. We see that we need 15 support clamps, and it's given us 2 bottles of lubrication. This is just the sum of the parts. Nothing really terribly special here. Order of installation helps everyone organize the components. Not everybody installs it directly from the appliance straight up. Sometimes you want to hang, you know, the horizontal piece and then fit everything up. So it's not the order of installation as far as how it all comes together, but it is what goes where in the ordering of the parts. So the real cool stuff is the adding of the drawings. So click Add Schematic, and then your 2-dimensional vent system will be added. There's some editing settings over here. You know, let's say you have somebody who needs it bigger. You can make the font bigger. You can click over and move them. I tend to move them off so there's no overlap. So you can just use edit and, you know, add text or whatever. This is very basic stuff, not terribly hard to do. Then you just add to proposal, and then the schematic appears at the bottom in part of what is going to be merged into the overall proposal. The really cool one is the 3-dimensional drawing, which through some various mouse clickings can rotate to your liking and move around on the page. If you have a big one or multiple systems or something like that, you can move it around so you get a better view. You can zoom in, zoom out, rotate it on different axes, up and down. A lot more than is really absolutely necessary. So for now, we'll just leave it like this. Looks like the vent system that they wanted, and we're good to go on this one. So we're going to add this to the proposal. So now we have the project data, the quote, the quantities, the legend, the order of installation, the schematic, and the 3D drawing, and we are ready to process the PDF. There it's generating, and you're going to see this little thing comes up. View the PDF in the viewer. That'll just open it up in the, you know, when you click OK, it'll open it up in your browser. This is not there yet, and email me the file. That will be, when you have your signed up account, the actual PDF will be mailed to your inbox, and typically speaking, it's very quick. So you hit OK, and then the PDF has arrived in the browser. It's just everything that we had there set up in a usable format to send to a contractor or a wholesaler. This finalized look should be very familiar to everybody, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, I thought so. So then the last thing that I really want to show you is that each one of these has a disclaimer. We want to make sure that the contractor understands that we need, you know, what we put into this is what comes out of it. The bill of materials and proposed vent system layout is based on information provided by the customer. The installer is responsible for reading and following all instructions, adhering to local codes, and verifying the accuracy of the vent system drawing, including layout and dimensions prior to placing order and installation. The quote is valid for 90 days. So we put that on there for pretty self-explanatory and obvious reasons. You know, if we get a sketch that is wildly inaccurate, you know, it's up to the customer to verify stuff before they place a big order. So that's pretty much it for this one. I mean, we went through some basic functions. We will have an intermediate training sometime in November where we're going to do some more advanced stuff. But this is pretty much the introduction to VentBOM, and I will open it up to questions now.
Question I had: can we see each other's projects, like here at Hollabaugh?
I don't think so. Just personal stuff. It might be a smart idea if you guys are going to be working on stuff together. Maybe sign up for something that's like a generic email that you all have, or just agree to use one account. And then if everybody has like quotes at HBA or something like that, and that's the login, and the login is shared, then everything will go to the same pool. So I mean, that's kind of a workaround, but it might be something that is useful in the short term. I as an administrator for this can see all of the projects, but you guys would be kind of like guests of our, you know what I mean? So not all of that stuff can be open to you guys.
Okay.
That way, if one of us is out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And was this the last of these intro trainings?
This is the third and last one for beginner, but we're going to be doing these more often, as we move forward. And so we'll do another beginner one, I guess, probably in January. I'm going to do an intermediate one in November, and then an advanced one in December, and then I'll do another beginner one in January.
Matt, are you going to upload this video so that we can actually re-click on it off of the program?
I was recording it, so I will try to do that.
Okay, that will help anyone who couldn't make this session.
Sure. I mean, and also, I mean, you guys all know me. Should you want some one-on-one training or you have questions, just, don't hesitate to get in touch or put me in touch with one of your coworkers. I'll be happy to help out.
Roger that. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, hey, man, appreciate it.
Anytime. I hope this was helpful, and I will, keep in touch, guys. I'm going to write you guys all have my email, so I don't really need to write it in the chat, but I will anyway. By all means, get in touch if you have any questions, and, happy quoting. Let me know how it goes, and we look forward to seeing some proposals in there.
Right on.
You have a great day.
All right, you too, Matt. Be good.
Bye-bye.
You too.
I think he's somebody else with Centrotherm, I believe. Yeah.
Gotcha. Maybe he's.
I don't know how to shut this off or anything. Give it